always had to update the Alteryx 10 tools. And we call this .tools. So here they are. Now, this was taken from the Alteryx website. So, JJ, you're going to have to tell me if we're missing any of the tools, but I'm counting 222 as of 10.0.9. Is it right? Okay. Anyway, that's our collage. You know, when you have a wall like this at theater, it's always fun to do some interesting things. But there are some really cool tools that I know Michael and Molly's probably going to go over in 10.0. So I'm going to do, like I said, a very abbreviated version of what I think is a pretty rad function of Alteryx, in which if you did it in any other program that we know, and there are quite a few that we've used, it would take weeks, if not months. But we do quite a lot of cross-tabulation. Show of hands, who here does a lot or has done cross-tabulating of databases? Okay, so about 50%. So to me, this is a really important tool, an important method of really gaining a much greater insight into your data. Now, I'm going to take you through a very primitive, third grade example, perhaps, but this kind of explains, the elements of cross-tabulation as I see it. So, imagining you have a city. Let's say 3 age groups, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 54, and the population reads as such 20, 30, and 50 respectively. So this is an example of one data record, data field, dimension, however you might define it. And then you have another one, say income. Now, in the Alteryx ecosystem, there is the Experian database, which provides a lot of insights on a lot of demographic data. Who here has used the Experian database? Not a lot, but it's pretty amazing. But you don't have to use Experian. You can use a lot of other databases, the census, other ones that provide a lot of demographic information. You can do this with economic information as well. But the fun starts when you cross-tabulate, or overlay, if you will. So in this simple case, we're going to cross-tabulate 3 income categories with 3 age categories. And obviously you're going to have 9 different new data points for you to have in your analysis. And why this is important is a lot of the data sets, whether they're together as a set or when you blend them, just because you blend a database doesn't mean they're going to be cross-tabulated. Now, Experian does not give you this. We developed an algorithm that cross-tabulates these categories and a lot more, so we can really define for the client or whatever the use case is, a drill-down scenario to provide real granular insight. Now, there's the cross-tabulation tool, and with that, you don't just have to limit yourself to a cross-tabulation of 2 different dimensions. You can do more. So with that, let me go ahead and show you what we did in Alteryx. So I'm not going to take you through this because this is my promise to be quite abbreviated. Yes?
On that cross-tab that you showed, those were number of people in each category?
Yeah, let me take you back to that. I was probably rushing through this. So here you see, so in this fictitious example, you've got a city, let's just say call it a city, and you've got this age breakdown of the population. So there's 20, 25 to 34-year-olds, 30, 35 to 44-year-olds, 50, 45 to 54-year-olds, right? And the income, you've got 55, a total of 55 households or people making 50 to 99,000, 20 making 100 to 150,000, and 25 people or households making 150 to 190,000. And so that's how a lot of the databases come. But if you were able to cross-tabulate this is kind of the secret sauce, because there's many ways to derive this. This is just a matter of simple normal distribution. But you can actually determine that in this bucket here, right, where there was 55 people making this 50,000 to 99,999, you can now say, look, out of those 55 making this income, 11 were 25 to 34, 16 and a half. You can't have half of a person. Okay, so we just did this very quickly. We should have rounded up or down, but and then 27.5 households or people making this income at this age group. This is very powerful because what we did in this example, okay, is this is the Alteryx workflow for that concept. And again, I'm not going to take you through this. Later on, if you want to get the nuts and bolts of this, Michael Pont and I will show you how this flow works. What we did is we, at the end of the day, took 4 different dimensions and have a database that we built, okay, and this is where the awesomeness comes in, of 4 different dimensions, if you will. There's household type, okay, meaning non-family or family, meaning married, not married, married with children, married without children, and so forth. Okay? Okay? And as we scroll down, you can see that we developed a cross-tabulation with 972 different granular categories instead of, say, well, none of the categories if you did cross-tabulate. So what does this mean? What's the power of this? Well, by going through household type and then cross-tabulating by renter or tenure, meaning do they rent or do they own, and age bracket, and income, and using the databases that are available, say the 2014 estimate, the 2019 estimate, and then getting a forecasted 5-year growth, I can come down here to any segment and say, oh, okay, I can tell you that a husband and wife with no children who rent, who make $100,000 to $124,999, okay, there will be 0 growth in those households for these zip codes that I selected. You see that? So I can go through here, and I can literally select any city I want, any zip code I want, and come up with a granular, cross-tabulated forecast of any household segment. So for instance, if we look at Costa Mesa, because we're in Costa Mesa. And I believe this is just for California, not for the entire United States. But if we come down here and look for, there's content. Oh, let's just choose Chrome. And we'll come down here and choose the only zip code that is Chrome. Come down here. And because of the granularity, there does not need to be a lot of large numbers in each of those categories. But that's okay, because the advantage of cross-tabulation is that you get the finest amount of detail, and then you can always aggregate up. So here you notice this pops out that there'll be a growth of 10 households within this category. So again, kind of a very simple concept, yet within the workflows of Alteryx, and this being output to Tableau, it's quite a powerful tool to use. And once you get that refined, drilled down data, you can then aggregate up any way you want. We find that the ultimate users of cross-tabulated data, they probably don't even know what cross-tabulation really means, is they want to be able to have the power to ask questions and have instant answers. Like, okay, forget about Corona Del Mar. I want to look at Irvine and Fountain Valley together. I want to look at Irvine and I want to look at Huntington Beach together. I want to take out this zip code and I want to only look at married with family and kids making $100,000 or above over the next 5 years, because we're building 2 communities in those areas, or we're selling a product that's based on that. And like that, it comes out. And why is that important? Because this is a true what-if interactive model. Because even though I just provided that fictitious example in about 15 seconds, you want to have the power for the ultimate decision maker, which is usually in the C-suite, right, to be able to come in here and change the assumptions on the fly. And they can do that easily. For instance, here you see there's 10 households that will grow in that exact granular segment. What if they just said, you know what, we want to include, some other cities in here. You can see if it's moving or not. Or you can really drill down to a specific household level. So these are the type of things that are really powerful with cross tabulation. Our method is to cross tabulate as many things as possible and then aggregate up.